Hi, Chelsea. It's good to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
We're good?
We're good to go.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting of the Human Services Commission to order at 6 o'clock on the 13th of April, 2021. And we start off with a pledge. We don't have a roll call somewhere telling us who's here. Yep. Well, should we have a roll call just to make sure everybody is here? Each commissioner should sound off. So Jenny, could we have a?
Sure. Commissioner Byers,
Here.
Commissioner Darvish,
Yes, yeah.
Commissioner Meltzer,
Here.
Commissioner Shanrick will be out today, and Chair Davis,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Thank you. Start with also go to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to use a commissioner. Commissioner Meltzer, would you like to lead us off? Start us off with the pledge. Everybody on the right.
Hands over your hearts.
And
We pledge allegiance
Pledge
To the
allegiance to the
flag
flag
of the United
States
States
of
of
America,
America
and
to the republic
for which it stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty and justice
for all.
So, okay, and we'll move forward to the installation of a new member, Jimmy Palmieri. And Larissa, I see your slot there, but I need you to help us. Do the installation. Is she still, Larissa? Yes, it's time.
I'm here.
I need you to, I need you to swear Jimmy in, please.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Thank you. I state your name.
I, Jimmy Palmieri,
Do solemnly swear that while serving in the office as a member of the Human Services Commission
do solemnly swear that while serving in the office as a member of the Human Services Commission
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much, Larissa. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. Do you have anything you would like to say, Jimmy? You have the
Oh,
floor for a moment.
I'm just happy to be back and to meet the new commissioners and to see everyone. I really want to let Larissa know how much I appreciate her swearing me, and it means a lot.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We will move along into the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? One of you's going to.
And a second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. Jenny, I need a roll call.
This is Jenny who moved,
Chelsea.
and then Commissioner Darvish second.
That's fine.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Darvish,
Yes.
Commissioner Meltzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Palmieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Davis.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all. So moving right along, we go to the approval of last minutes of last meeting, which was March the 9th of this year. Do I have a motion to
So
approve?
moved. So
Barbara
moved.
Meltzer moves. Is it seconded?
I'll second.
And Adam Darvish seconds.
All right.
I do have, is there any comment or any concern? I do have a little tiny issue with, on the very first page.
Mhm.
It says call to order. It says Chair Davis called the meeting to order, and then Pledge of Allegiance, it says Chair Shandrick. You can't have two chairs. You can be Commissioner Shandrick or Mr. Shandrick or Patrick, it's fine. But that's just a little tiny change. The rest of it's fine.
I'll make a change. Thank you, Chair.
Mhm.
I will be doing a roll call. Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Darvish,
Yes.
Commissioner Meltzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Palmieri,
Yes.
Chair Davis.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Going to move then into the unfinished business portion of tonight's agenda. Starts off with the employment services. Human Services Commission will receive a presentation from the staff of the Los Angeles LAGBT Center's Transgender Economic Empowerment Project on employment services provided to West Hollywood
I'm
community.
sorry, Chair. We have a public comment.
Oh, I skipped him. Oh, boy. Yeah, you do have a point. Would you like to have the public comment portion of it?
Yes, we have one public comment this evening. Sam Borelli will be speaking. You have 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and start your camera. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know exactly. What was I thinking?
After all that, how quickly they forget. I didn't really prepare much. I did post on Facebook a little while ago. I just wanted to say what a privilege and honor it had been for just under 6 years to serve on this particular commission, which I said from my early days and will continue to say, it really is the heart and soul of the community of the city of West Hollywood, really founded on helping other people, which is what I do, which is what so many of you do, and really has been a joy. Wonderful partners, friendships have been enhanced, like with Jimmy, have been found and taken to the next level, like with Barbara, Patrick, and Stephen. And it really has been quite a bit of fun. We did a lot of great work together. Funding, of course, the social services brochure out to the community is like, hey, crowning achievement, what a way to go. And just thinking about how many people have been helped over these years and before my time as well with amazing and wonderful commissioners. I want to say thank you to the council members who appointed me in the past. I want to say a bigger thank you to the social services staff who are just top of their game. We are so lucky, even when we sometimes, we are so lucky to have you. You are fantastic and amazing, and really, we get our money's worth, and so many people have helped because of you. I want to wish Commissioner Darvish, Byers, and I guess will be sworn in the next meeting, Commissioner Freiberg, who formerly from the Disabilities Advisory Board, who I know and is fantastic. I wish the three of you newbies well, and if you need any support keeping these other ones in line, let me know. But really big shout out to Stephen, Barbara, Patrick, and yes, even Jimmy, for friendship, colleagueship. Even one of my first meetings where things got a little heated, we were like, we're all in this together, we'll get through it. We walked out the door, no hard feelings, all great. I am going to take a second to remind you, and if I go over a moment, Mr. Chair, you can just cut me off. You have that privilege. But I want to remind us all what we've done and what we do. So are you ready? Think about this. When people get housed, we did that. When people get food, when people get mental health support, when people get grab bars installed, when someone gets PrEP, when someone lonely participates in a group program or event, when someone doesn't get HIV, When someone gets 1 day of recovery or sobriety, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year of recovery or sobriety, we did that. When someone isn't evicted, when someone gets rental assistance, when someone is supported on their path to citizenship, when someone gets a job, when a family gets preschool, when someone gets to keep their animal, when someone gets reproductive health care, when someone gets free feminine hygiene products, when someone gets dental care, when someone gets transportation, we did that. That's what the human services in this city and the social services department do to help people. I will always be proud to be a member of this body, and I wish you all luck. And I quite frankly say, keep it up, because we need you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
We love you.
Excellent. Now I go back to my glowing introduction of the employment services from the Los Angeles LGBT Center's TEAP program. And that, I believe, is Luna. I can't see you, but I can see your square. There you are. Thank you. So without further ado, I don't need any other staff, just Luna's fine. It's good. Go. The floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, Chair Davis, and good evening, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here. I believe it's been about a year since we last spoke when the pandemic just started, and I'm happy to offer an update on our services and an overview. And so since the last presentation, I think we spoke a little bit about what were the ongoing challenges, but I wanted to this time highlight some of our successes. As you know, for the members who have been with us and seen our project develop over time, we have, before the pandemic, seen an average between 56 to 76 clients in West Hollywood on an annual basis. And of those clients, about 97% of them are experiencing homelessness, which is the tragedy and the reality. A lot of our work touches upon the outreach, street outreach we engage in Plummer Park and all across Santa Monica Boulevard, from the east side and Gateway all the way down to the Strip and all of the bars in that area with West Hollywood. So we go from one end to the other. And in this work, we've been able to partner with the ongoing partnerships we have with other nonprofits like Essentia, Step Up, and our center's mental health services to be able to provide wraparound services, whether it's placing clients into housing, into care for treatment, substance use, or so on. And with all that in mind, some of our annual successes are evident in our quarterly reports. And I do want to read one story of an individual we met last year. And so last April, after our city's COVID-19 webinar job assistance programs, we were able to meet with one individual client named, we're going to use initials here, who is named YA, who was a trans woman experiencing unstable employment and housing. She was living in her car and she was working at a restaurant before March. And since then, we've been able to support her with the unemployment insurance benefits application, as well as guiding her through the applications for shelters and housing throughout the year. To this day, she's still struggling with security, but we're able, because of that webinar we had last year, we were able to connect with her and have ongoing case management to be able to monitor her progress. And these are stories that we encounter throughout the year. Many individuals who are struggling with homelessness, it's not an easy path to get out of there and into employment and housing. Oftentimes, we find our clients are experiencing discrimination in their workplace or in the shelter that they're trying to access before leading up to West Hollywood. And we want to make sure that people are informed of the rights and the skills that they have within their arsenal to be able to advocate for themselves and reach the point of to reach their goals that we identify in the initial assessment. And so throughout the year, we often, on average, we see 1 to 4 folks placed into jobs, into housing, which out of the larger scale of 72 on average, it's a low number, but we want to make sure that we highlight each and every success, as for some people, it's chronic homelessness. They're spending 5+ years on the streets. And so it's a very real, slow progress, but a progress that's worth celebrating here. And so In addition to these services as well, we also have our ongoing job fair. As of the moment, we haven't planned a virtual job fair as we're planning to adjust certain elements. But we will be planning one soon once LA County begins to open, and we're scheduling one for this fall. In past job fairs, we've hosted them at the Plummer Park area. In past 5-7 years, we've moved it to the West Hollywood Park Auditorium, and we want to continue that partnership with the city to be able to make sure that constituents can access our services in our job fairs. In past fairs, we've had 100 to 300 folks individually on average who have accessed our fair. And on average, we've also had about 50 to 70 employers registering and attending to be able to recruit within our community. That is a brief overview of our services since the last time we spoke. I do have a few updates. These updates were made possible through the support of the city as well as our ongoing partnerships. First and foremost, if you haven't seen already, we are also offering now as a response to COVID, a partnership with in partnership with Tarzana Treatment Centers as well as APLA Health. We're offering events where folks can get connected to cell phones. Our homeless individuals oftentimes aren't able to reach or access virtual events or services because they're not able to access cell phones or the internet. And so please keep an eye out for future events. We'll be sharing them through the city and staff as soon as we get the next date scheduled. And as well as our newest hire, Owen Monkmeyer, who is also in attendance here. Owen is our new attorney that we recently hired to be able to meet the needs that are emerging as we're working with our homeless individuals. Many of our homeless clients are also struggling with clearing criminal records from past crimes that they've engaged with out of survival and in the path towards securing employment and housing, as well as support around housing and employment discrimination that we'll be fleshing out through this partnership. And so, Owen, would you like to join us on video and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Owen Monkmeyer. I'm the newest staff attorney, and I've been brought on board partially to help out Luna with TEEP, and I'm very excited to join the team. A big selling point for me in coming on board with the Los Angeles LGBT Center was Luna's work with TEEP. And so I'm very excited to be able to help clear these barriers that we're seeing, these systemic barriers for so many of our most vulnerable clients to stable economic employment in the city. So I'm happy to be here, happy to support Luna in this presentation.
And that is our overview for our services since the last we spoke. I'm sure you all have questions, but I want to make sure that we follow the process for the agenda.
Oh yeah, well, we're fine. Do I have a commissioner who would like to start with questions if there are questions? Commissioner Meltzer, do you want to start?
Well, no, sure.
Or would you rather pass?
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say thank you, Luna. I mean, you do such incredible work, and I think we all always love to hear your reports. So just thank you for everything you do. But you do collaborate with TransWorks, yes? Okay.
Yes, we do collaborate with TransCanWork, and in order
to
our services, we do want to make sure that we're not duplicating these clients and caseloads. And so for folks who are ready for employment, who already have housing secured, who already have the fundamentals to be able to get into the jobs hunt, we do a direct referral. For individuals who are still struggling to make the very basics or to be able to meet the very basic needs to get into the job hunt, we take more of an intensive case management role for these clients. And so it varies on the spectrum. We're also collaborating with JVS as well as the Youth Services Employment Program.
Great.
So depending on which qualifying factors they fit into, we'll make that referral. And for folks who are non-West Hollywood, we'll often refer to the local works or centers in their area.
Great. Thank you for everything.
Thank you,
It's a pleasure.
Barbara. Commissioner Darvish? Do you have any
Having
questions?
a hard time to mute. I did want to thank you, Luna and Owen, for a great presentation. I heard that before pandemic, you mentioned 72 homeless that you all have helped. And then I thought I heard a number of current number of, was it over 100? I forget how many.
Yes, let me clarify the numbers. I threw out a couple of statistics there. So on average, in a year, we serve between 57 through 76 clients in West Hollywood who are experiencing homelessness, or sorry, who are affiliated with West Hollywood. 97% of them are experiencing homelessness on average. And the last year we served 56, and in prior years we served about 76 or on average. And so that's just our range within the years. Last year we did see a decrease with COVID-19, and in the reports we've attributed this to some of the ongoing challenges in access to our services, and as well as the remote aspect of it, with which we're trying to address with these cell phone connect days. That we mentioned earlier, around 100, is in reference to our participants who access our annual job fair in West Hollywood.
Oh, great. Yeah, I did hear that. That's great to hear.
I'm so sorry.
I was wondering about your outreach to the homeless. Do you approach them on the street, or what method do you use to outreach?
Yeah, that varies depending on where they're at. Presently, right now, we're out on the streets twice a week, once on Tuesday afternoons, and again, either alternating between Thursday or Friday evenings, depending on the time of the week or other factors along with that. In the past months, we have adjusted schedules quite drastically, especially with COVID. For a while, there was a time where we weren't seeing the same folks at the same times, and we were adjusting our schedules to go out in the field as early as 7 a.m. And again in the afternoon, and again in the evening and the late night. And so we're adjusting our schedules to be able to meet folks at any given time. It just really varies, and we're seeing that the patterns that we had known prior to COVID are not as consistent as they are now. But to answer your question, many of our clients who are experiencing homelessness, we will try to engage and approach them. And many folks who are homeless, at the very get-go, they do not, or at the first meeting, the first contact, they aren't always receptive to talking about services in securing housing or employment. Many times, people are just looking to be able to find something to eat, to find resources to get into care, whether it's hygiene, whether it's and in their supplies, they may need like sleeping bags, or recently as well, the personal protective equipment in relation to COVID and hand sanitizer. And we've been able to, with the benefit and support of Jenny and Katie, to provide these direct services to our clients to be able to make those first contacts and conversations easier. But many times individuals are often on the streets, and they may also be working in survival sex work, or working in economies that are right now presently not the safest, but we're trying to be able to offer options so that if they wish to, they can find alternatives like a traditional workplace. It's a constant ongoing struggle for our clients, and we're trying to find ways that we can also make ourselves accessible beyond the street outreach. We are also at the Trans Wellness Center, which is based in Koreatown, on Mondays and Fridays for in-person visits between the hours of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so not only are folks able to access our services virtually, but they also can meet us in person on the streets, as well as in our office at the Trans Wellness Center.
Do you get referrals from social services and other agencies?
Yes, actually, we have a weekly case round where we meet with other providers in our cohort. And our providers include Ascensia, Step Up, our mental health department, our youth services, Tarzana treatment centers, and there's several other more that there's too many to list right here, but those are some of the few that that participate in our weekly case rounds. We meet every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. through Zoom, and that's where we'll discuss individuals who need more support, and as well as make referrals and highlight certain events or collaborate on issues that are or events that are coming up. Recently, we were also present at the vaccine clinic last Tuesday in the morning at Plummer Park. And that's where we were also able to make a connection with a client that we were working with who was also struggling with a situation of intimate partner violence. And through our partnership with Step Up and Tarzana, we were able to get them medication and a emergency hotel voucher, which was a success, but only a temporary bandage in the long term. And we're looking at how we can continue to work with this client to be able to place them into safe and permanent housing in the future. But these are the ways that we're engaging and some of the ongoing updates that we're seeing on the field.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your support.
I have to turn myself back on. Commissioner Byers, would you like to ask a question or do you have any comment?
I don't have any questions, just taking it all in, but also just want to say thank you for your support. I've been paying attention to trends and just sort of noticing that increasing numbers of people are identifying as transgender, and curious if anything about the long-term services and sort of the capacity that you feel you have on the ground, especially as folks start, being out in public in more places. Just, thinking about that, but I don't know that it's an exact question for this moment. So if you have anything to add to it, that's great. Otherwise, totally okay. And thank you.
Yeah, I think capacity is always a question and an issue. Most of our funding and our focus is predominantly with West Hollywood, the city of West Hollywood. And there is a big need beyond the city of West Hollywood, and as well as in the city of Los Angeles and emerging and surrounding counties as well. We're seeing many requests coming in from other cities or other counties trying to access our services. And while we don't turn away anyone, it is difficult to be able to provide the same level of care we provide for our West Hollywood residents and clients to the who are not within that project. Oftentimes we'll work very closely with the Trans Wellness Center, our partnerships with Trans Latina Coalition, who is also a recipient of the City of West Hollywood's social services funding, as well as Trans Can Work. And we'll do our best to be able to make sure that they find care somewhere. But you're right, it is an ongoing issue, and as we see more and more folks comfortable expressing their identity and their truest, authentic self, we're also seeing more requests for affirmative housing and employment. And we embark on this mission to be able to provide diversity trainings for folks who are able and willing to learn more about the community. But even within our network and from what I understand from other agencies providing this work, there's still much more work to be done. This is not a lifelong mission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Palmieri.
Thank you. Hi, Luna. It's always great to see you. Owen, welcome aboard. It's great to meet you. Luna, I have some questions. I was writing down quickly, and if I get something wrong that you said, please correct me. So you are helping folks get cell phones. I know that we have minimally two providers that can help with cell phones. You're making sure that everyone has one.
We're doing our best to connect everyone with the Connect Days. We are getting the cell phones through a third-party agency. I believe their name is Hero Network, the Hero Network. And so we're partnering with them to be able to link the services and what they're offering with our clients in West Hollywood. Also have connections through Tarzana Treatment Centers and APLA Health to be able to link DPSS as well at these events. The cell phones do the least of requirements to be able to access cell phones. The clients are required to have their ID as well as ongoing benefits, whether it's Medi-Cal, food stamps, SNAP, GR, so on, to be able to access these cell phones with the network. And so what we do is partner with our agencies and our contacts at these agencies, DPSS and the Hero Network, to be able to link these services with our clients. We ourselves do not distribute the cell phones. And if I could, I would make sure that every one of our clients had these. But it's an ongoing challenge with COVID-19, and as
Sure.
is our virtual.
Sure. So as long as they're getting CalFresh, Medi-Cal, or LA for one of those, they are. It's almost 100% that they will get a cell phone. It just has to be followed through, and they can apply through Lifeline. You said that you're noticing an inconsistency in patterns, trends, and maybe you could just go a little bit on that. You don't have to tell me all of it, but what are you seeing that is different?
Yes. So for before COVID, many of our ongoing contacts with our clients in our caseload were predominantly at the parks, West Hollywood Park and Oakland Park. And since COVID, since our last discussion about a year ago, we have not been seeing the same number of individuals at these parks. And I think partly is with the ongoing changes with construction, with the ongoing changes with COVID and safety. I think many of our homeless individuals are more, our folks who are experiencing homelessness are more likely to be in transit in and out of West Hollywood. And so I think a lot of the usual spots where we're looking for to meet individuals on the streets are no longer the same spots we're able to meet folks. And so to answer your question, to meet folks, we've been having to adjust our schedule, the locations for meeting individuals. We're going to Veterans Park, to the parking lot at the library, to up and down the boulevard on Sunset, everywhere that we haven't previously explored, to be able to see if we can reconnect with individuals who we lost touch with.
Right. Try the Saguariello Fountain. I'm sure you'll see some people over there. So I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to forward them to staff. It's just too much to ask. But I do want to know, for those folks that are participating in street economy, that are doing sex work, survival sex, are you supplying condoms and types of information like trans prep? And we actually have those on flyers and postcards.
Yes, actually, and that's with our health services department. We're able to provide the condoms both in, as they're commonly addressed, male and female versions. But really, we make sure that people have the freedom of choice to be able to choose between the two of them. We are also providing information for PrEP, and we're also suggesting folks, if they're able to access our services at our health services department or at the Trans Wellness Center, where they can get linked into care, whether it's HIV medication, whether it's PrEP, whether it's hormones. Many folks who are engaging in the street economies or underground economies may not have a primary care provider who is monitoring their hormone levels or monitoring their health at large. And so not only are they able to access our services to be able to find a pathway to economic stability and empowerment, but we're also making connections to health and other social determinants to the city is combating, whether it's HIV, whether it's homelessness, or whether it's substance use, mental health, and so on.
Great. So just so you know, there's a 3 condom limit in Hollywood, in West Hollywood, that doesn't exist. I'm sure you're aware of it. 3 condoms in Hollywood. If they do get pulled over, that could become evidence, which is insanity, but it's just the way it is. But in West Hollywood, we don't have that. So when I distribute condoms, I stand on the corner of West Hollywood and Hollywood to make sure that I can give them the amount that they may use, need, or come back for more if they like that evening. But yeah, that is a stupid law, but it is a law that they have used before, and I've seen people in trouble for it. Thanks so much for everything that you do. It's always a pleasure to see you. I do have a couple of questions that I'm going to forward to staff, and then they can forward them to you. Owen, good to meet you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Owen, if you're there, then where's Roger Cogan?
Roger's still with us. He's our director.
Okay.
Roger, I couldn't make it to this meeting, but
That's all right.
very
He
much
doesn't come to
invested
the
in the
meeting. I just wanted to know if he was being replaced or if he had retired.
No such thing yet. No.
Okay. I've known him for a long time. So good. Say hello for me. Thank you very much. Very good report. We will now be moving on to the new business portion of the meeting, which is the California Master Plan for Aging and Connectivity. And I'm going to be turning that over to Corey Plank. And I guess you have the floor. If you want to give it back to me, just let me know.
That's good. I just want to also thank and welcome Owen and thank Luna. Luna was out there with us last week for the vaccination clinic we had for people experiencing homelessness and helped us get 20 shots in arms at the vaccination clinic. And so really appreciate all the effort of Luna being there, but all of our teams who were helping get folks out and make sure that they could get vaccinated and be safe. So thank you, Luna, and welcome, Owen. I am so fortunate tonight. I have the true honor to introduce Dr. Donna Benton. She is one of the preeminent experts, one of the most sought after experts on aging and older adults, family caregiving, spokesperson for these issues. As we talk about the master plan and its connectivity to our local aging in place, aging in community strategic plan, there are a few things we want you to know about Dr. Benton before we let her blow you away with her knowledge and her expertise. But she was appointed to the California Master Plan on Aging, the Stakeholder Advisory Commission, and also has been part of the California Commission on Aging. She is a PhD, a research associate professor of gerontology at the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. And I think she's got a really nice USC background going on there. I know we've got some UCLA folks, so just be nice. Dr. Benton is also the director of the USC Family Caregiver Support Center and the Los Angeles Caregiver Resource Center. And I know that that's been an issue that's been raised at the commission, and we look forward to hearing more from Dr. Benton this evening. If she has time, she also has a great story of how she got her start in aging, which wasn't too far from the borders of West Hollywood.
Right.
And we would, if we have time, we would love for her to share that with you as well. And with that, I'm going to stop talking because who you really want to hear from is Dr. Benton.
Oh, wow. What an introduction. Now, there's hardly anything I can say that will live up to that introduction. Thank you so much. So thank you, everyone, for letting me come and share the master plan for aging that took a year to develop, along with several other really stellar people in California. One of the things that about the master plan and the stakeholder advisory committee is that many of us have been made a career in aging, and having the master plan from the governor's office saying that we need a master plan for aging. And I always like to say it's master plan for aging, which means it is not a plan for older adults. It's so that we can all age well in California from birth forward. So this is a 10-year plan, and it's and out of the plan over the year that it was released earlier in January, there are 5 bold, what they called 5 bold goals for the master plan. It was launched and it's housed under the California Health and Human Services and the California Department of Aging. And they're really going to be pushing the plan, but all the departments, major departments in California are accepting the plan for the state level. But at the local level, there are so many things that we can do and take the recommendations and decide on your own local playbook. Now, I don't know if everybody's familiar, but I just want to say that we know that California really is changing. And because of our life expectancy, which is going to be about 81.9 on average, but it's not equitable for everyone. Some people, for African Americans and Latinos, that number is closer to 70 and not 81. And for others, it might be a little longer. So the reason that for California, we're going to be aging in place for a long time. And most people want to age in the community. But locally, many of the policies, the way that we have our streets set up and our transportation may not allow us to easily continue to live in the community. And so the goal is for over the next 10 years is that we need to take inventory of where we live, and you as policymakers and people that can really influence what happens in West Hollywood, you can look at West Hollywood and find out where can we make changes that will make it easy for anyone to stay in the community as long as they want to live in their community. So that's the goal for the master plan overall. The other overarching principle that is part of the plan is that we really want to bake in equity and inclusion. So anytime you're looking at a policy recommendation from the plan or anyone that maybe you think about, we always say, make sure that you've baked in equity and inclusion so that it will work for everybody. So it's, that means that we have to tailor things and we have to look at what the needs are for many people and not just for one particular group. But we may sometimes for equity means that we may have to do a little more to bring that everybody up to the same level, because we don't always start at the same height. So we can't just, have everyone at the same height. And I'm probably speaking to the choir. I can see Leslie, you're nodding your head. It seems like you really understand this concept already. I don't want to, talk down to anyone.
I just liked how you defined that. I felt like that was a very visual way of defining equity. I appreciated your description.
Oh, thank you. So what we want to do, so I want to make sure that that's a guiding principle, and that was one of those things that came out of the master plan. So let me talk to you about what the general plan, the 5 bold goals, the general areas that are there. Goal 1 is called Housing for All Ages and Stages. And as I said, this is a master plan for all ages. So I know, like tonight, you've been talking about housing, you've been talking about the unhoused, and we know that we need to address that for everyone. And so if someone begins early in their life, unhoused, we have to make sure that we have the ability to help that person find a way to be housed and how to continue that throughout the lifespan. Because in general, unless a person's income has changed, we want to make sure that that housing can change with the person's need as we get older and our bodies change naturally, and we may have some disabilities because of our earlier lifestyles and the way that, we're in society. So goal 1 in looking at housing, we know that we need more housing options and we need transportation beyond cars. We have to have outdoor spaces. And, I live in Los Angeles all my life, and I know West Hollywood has really been very good around outdoor spaces, and that you guys have done very well for emergency prep and responsiveness. But again, this allows all of us to be able to age in our community. And we also want to look at climate-friendly aging. So there are many strategies in the plan that have models and recommendations. So anything that you can do can feed into that goal of housing for all ages and stages. Next part that the next goal is healthcare reimagined. And this is a big, bold goal. I would say that the key thing under here, and that's moving right now at the state level, federal level, but we can look at locally, is anything around healthcare for long-term care services and support. Any way that we can wrap around services for people so that they have the ability, no matter what their health status is, to be able to stay again in their home and have a choice when you leave a hospital or you've had an illness, not necessarily having to go to a nursing home. And of course, with COVID, we know that created a high risk factor for people. So we want to have healthcare reimagined. We want to find ways that healthcare will allow people to be able to access healthcare, able to bridge anything as they need lifelong aging services, to have some geriatric specialties within your community and identify those and help people link to geriatric expansions, have a dementia-friendly environment. Sometimes and there's some very good examples of dementia-friendly communities where maybe you take time and you have shop owners take an hour class, and then they can learn to be a dementia-friendly cafeteria, a dementia-friendly business, so that they understand what dementia is and how to have customers be able to work. You know, when they come in, they aren't going to be embarrassed when they go to use a local service, and because people understand that the person isn't having mental illness, that it might be dementia, and how to help identify that, or how to help somebody get home if they're lost in our community. That we look out for people who might be vulnerable in getting lost. So goal 3 is inclusion, equity, and not isolation. And so this one really really talks about making sure that we do things that help people stay connected through volunteering. Right now, we hear a lot around digital divide and being able to have access to digital services, because really we've noticed with COVID, now that, you know, when everybody could not meet in person, we had phone and then you had the internet, but you didn't have really too much in between. And we know that digital access has become very important. You want to be able throughout your lifespan to work in any way you want to, you know, so looking at laws that may discriminate against somebody after the age of 60 or even 70 or 80, or to have places that allow us to re-engage and work in different areas and retrain people. Also under this goal for inclusion and diversity and not isolation, we also need to understand about abuse, neglect, and exploitation, so that we have the ability to identify those people in our communities who may be at risk for somebody for financial abuse, elder, and other types of elder abuse. And under this was also some overall leadership. And so there has to be a commitment. Somebody who says, I'm going to be the person to take on the aging issues. And I know you guys have done a lot of this, but it's kind of emphasizing how what you're doing now can continue to grow over the next 10 years. We also have goal 4, which has to do with caregiving, which is close to my heart, but family caregivers, those are your unpaid. It's the mothers, fathers, siblings, aunts, uncles that you will probably rely on, and others rely on when you're feeling sick or ill. And we always think, who's going to take care of me? Oh, it's going to be my spouse. It's going to be my sister or something like, or you've already been a caregiver. That we need to help the family caregiver. We need to have caregiver substitutes. So people who are paid and are paid well, who can help somebody when they don't have somebody to help them. And we need to understand how to do virtual care and help for some of that monitoring to help people when they need care that's remote. Finally, the 5th goal is affording aging. And we all know that there's a huge equity gap in economics growing in our society. So one of the biggest goals is to end homelessness. And I know that you've been talking a lot about that, and looking at income insecurity and protect people from poverty and hunger. And those are all things that you start early. And hopefully, if you can begin to look at the structural barriers that maintain people in poverty, and we can move people out of poverty earlier in life, then we won't have the issue later on in life. But certainly right now, the highest growing population of homeless people and those falling into homelessness are people over the age of 60. And in some areas, even at 55, we would consider those older adults. And so they have a different need for being rehoused faster around medical conditions. So those are the 5 bold goals from the master plan. There is, I didn't see a chat, but I can send somebody the link to the website. But if you Google California Master Plan on Aging, you'll see the master plan. There's a local playbook, but overall, the master plan allows you to hone in on these 5 areas, and almost anything that you do within your program, you can link back to that master plan. And locally, I think one of the key things is to watch the data dashboard, because from the data dashboard, you'll be able to hone down into your city to find out how you're doing on any of these areas, because you can look at how you're impacting any of the 5 areas. I will stop there. I only had 7 minutes, and I think I've reached my goal. my 7-minute goal. And I can tell the story of how I got into gerontology in 1 minute or less, if I'm allowed to.
You can go right ahead.
Okay,
right ahead.
so it's very simple. I went to Fairfax High School, and while there, when your last couple of years, you do volunteer work. I volunteered with the Great Panthers. Maggie Kuhn was a huge inspiration for me, and she talked about intergenerational, that if you want to grow older, because I thought I was going to end up in a nursing home, that was normal. It's not. But Maggie Kuhn explained that if you want to make aging better for yourself, you start now. And so at the age of 15, I started and never left gerontology from then on.
Excellent story. Well worth the wait. So commissioners, I see Commissioner Meltzer has her hand up. So
I'm so thrilled. Welcome, Dr. Benton. I am so happy to see you here.
Thank you.
And what a great presentation. It's a little daunting and exciting at the same time. And I've been through, a lot the outlines of the master plan. And I heard somebody say the master plan is the door, not the destination. You have to get to that door. And one of the things I also read is that Alzheimer's is the greatest health challenge of all. So that's something we really, really need to work on and become a dementia-friendly city. I think we are, actually.
Right.
I think we are, which is quite wonderful. And also, we need action plans, and we need to, the master plan, it said adopt an initiative or adopt something. What does that look like?
So what that looks like is there are models out there. So say if you wanted to be an age-friendly, that was the kind of example I like to use, is if you want to be a dementia-friendly city, then if you decide that that's going to be your goal, then you would say things like, okay, we're going to educate maybe all of the firefighters who respond, all of our responders. We're going to, all the postal people, we're going to train them on understanding 5 ways to identify, or to suspect that somebody may have dementia, and we'll have 5 resources. And so you'll have those resources ready, and they're going to be able to be the people that identify what's going on. You may develop, I remember one place they developed a dementia-friendly sticker, so that a business could they would take a course, they would understand. And so I always remember the story that I was working with a woman, and she would go to a restaurant regularly with her mother who had Alzheimer's, and they would sit together. You know how when you had booths, you sit on one side, your mom's on one side, you're on the other side, and you're talking. But the mom had dementia, so she would get up and go and like, oh, those French fries look good, and she takes somebody's French fries off of it, just kind of running around.
Yeah.
Well, the waitress understood what was going on, and she would quietly explain it to the person so that they wouldn't get mad at the older lady. Of course, after a while, I did tell her, if you're in a booth, why don't you sit next to your mom, and then she can't get out. And so that kind of stopped that behavior, but that was on another practical end when we were talking. Yeah. But the restaurant, because the waitress knew her and she understood, she would just quietly do things to keep the mother engaged, explain to other people who are coming into the restaurant what was going on, so that it didn't turn into an issue. And you can do that with many businesses.
Yes, I think they did that in Oregon someplace, but we are lucky. West Hollywood is so ahead of the curve here that we're an age-friendly city, and we're just lucky. We have great people here working on this. So thank you, Dr. Benton. Wonderful to hear you and to see you.
Thank you. So I don't know. I mean, please ask me questions, however I can help engage. And I think it's also important to let the legislature and the California Department on Aging know what you're doing in your city so that it can be uplifted in California. So don't be shy about talking about your programs.
It's not really a shy city, but but I do hear you, and I think that's important. Another Commissioner Darvish, I see your hand.
Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Benton. I won't take it against you that you went to USC.
I changed my background.
That I noticed that, but I'm just kidding you. But great job. And I've been in that industry, taking care of the older adults, whatever term you want to use. I like the term that you used, just a different stage of aging. I used to be a board member at Orange County, South Orange County Senior Center, or it was sort of a organization that helped the older adults, food delivery, transportation, all that. We had changed our name to Age Well. This was 10 years ago. And we felt that as board members, that was not an appropriate name to be called, to be used for the group as seniors, because there were different ages too that needed that service. But thank you, it's great, it's really great job just going through what the needs are. In my mind, just being, and in the past, a nursing home administrator many years ago, I had hands-on, face-to-face experience with the older adults that were in that nursing home, using the services either short-term or long-term. What I noticed that depression was number one. Most had social needs. They were left alone by the family, or just being left in nursing home. A lot had depression, Alzheimer's, and different medical fields. I feel what you said at the end is to work with your legislators. I think as a country, we have turned our back to our older adults that have paid into the system for many years. And I don't know, I'm sure many of you are aware the way the movement that happened 10 years ago with healthcare reform, we gave that fund, our CMS, our federal government gave the funds to insurance companies, and not that that's a bad thing. There were a lot of good things happen, but some adults were limited, that had limited access to healthcare because some of those players then used those funds. They had to show savings and cut off. So all of us need to do a lot of work to ensure access for those older adults, because some of them may not know what they can access or what level is good for them. They listen to the doctor. The doctor may have an interest in the insurance company, or just financially somehow wanted to save. Again, there are a lot of good players. There's some bad players, but I think that's one that's so complex in our country. I, as an administrator, took every day, half of my day was spent on explaining what Medicare is, how much you pay out of pocket, what's your secondary insurance should be. Average adults don't really understand that unless they need that, and it's complicated. So glad you brought that up. In West Hollywood, what I've seen, just putting my glasses on as a nursing home administrator and an older one, we need more kind of crosswalks, on the streets, on residential streets. We don't see many safety measures especially for older adults. I've seen myself cars just racing down the street, and someone, an older adult with a dog trying to cross, would almost get run over. I mean, the driver is just so aggressive, and they don't want to. So we need to look at that and see in our community, what else do we need to build to make it more pedestrian friendly? Not only that, at that stage of our life, because the vision, the hearing, all of that is affected. So I appreciate all of those stages that you mentioned really are the key stages. I can't think of any more, but all of us need to do more and more to advocate for them. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Darvish. Commissioner Byers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Benton. I'm really moved by the way that you talk about aging in place as a conversation that has to start, or ought to start, as soon as possible in somebody's life. And just curious or really interested to think about strategies to help bring that conversation to young people in a more proactive way. I know I'm certainly just hearing some of these things in new ways myself, and really grateful for that, and would love to extend that conversation in more directions towards young people. And really grateful that you shared your personal background. I'm glad you were able to get that in. It was really amazing hearing that this has been life work for you. Thank you.
I think part of that conversation is that, as with Maggie Kuhn, that the conversation was around common intergenerational issues, and sharing the experience of, she shared her early experiences with me when I was 16, but I could still relate to it. So part of it is holding workshops together. When you're talking about making safe roads, it's not just for older adults to cross, but families with children. So you bring those two groups together and you're going to start a conversation. Anytime you can just have conversations that center around family issues, you're going to be talking around aging. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Palmieri, do you have anything you'd like to? There you are.
Doctor, thank you so much for your presentation. I feel pretty honored that you're here and you're explaining a lot of this to us. So please know how happy we are that you are here. This was a great read for me. You know, in the beginning, I don't know how many years back, when Aging in Place came to this commission, I can tell you that Commissioner Davis and I didn't have a lot of faith in it. We just didn't understand the concept of it. We truly thought this is pie in the sky, and it was false hope. And the thing that I don't like in this world is false hope. It's the worst thing that can happen. But as I watched this progress over the years, and in our city alone, and now with your information, it's truly, it's in my mind, it's revolutionary, but I guess it's not. I guess it's part of the, it's part of the fabric now. It's what it is being. So thanks for pointing some of this stuff out. This is one of the pieces of paper, or one of the booklet, 12 pieces of paper that I will be keeping. A lot I shred, but I will be keeping this. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Dr. Benton. It was a very nice presentation. I think I agree with you. It's very important to start from like square one all the way through life. Far too many Americans do not understand financial planning, and not just financial planning, but any kind of planning to stay, just to be able to afford where they are, what they're going to do, and how they're going to do it. And if they have family that teaches them, that's good. It depends on where they got it. You got yours at a meeting. As a 16-year-old young woman, that would be like the ideal time to catch a person, you know. So I think that's very important that you keep it, that it's not just aging in place, that it's actually like a progressive long line. And I know, because I've been kind of aging in place sitting here for the last several years, and I've been in West Hollywood, and when I arrived in West Hollywood, I was a young man, and I am no longer a young man, and I haven't taken on the senior, the word senior yet. And my partner right next door my window here, Barbara, the senior's not allowed. But anyway, I would like to say that that was very well done. And there's a lot of stuff there that we're already doing or will do. So thank you very much for all you do, for all the people who don't even know you're doing it.
Well, thank you so much. And when you say, I mean, I feel honored to be able to be here today and speak to you guys. I mean, this is just, you know, as I said, I grew up in LA. I know West LA, but LA is my town. Los Angeles County, this is me. I'm born, raised, and anything I can do to continue to make this so that I can continue to age in place.
Yep.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah, excellent. Corey, do you have?
So I just want to thank Dr. Benton again for being with us tonight, but also she spent some time with us before the meeting to kind of talk through what we're doing in West Hollywood and to share with staff a little bit more about the Master Plan on Aging. So I want to thank her for all the time that she put into kind of preparing and being with us tonight. And we look forward to continuing to work with her. I also want to take a moment to thank Commissioner Meltzer, who helped introduce and connect us to Dr. Benton. We are really grateful for and hope for continued partnership. And if the commission will bear with me for a couple of minutes, I have a couple of things and a few notes to follow up before we introduce our next speaker on this item. I think it's really important what Dr. Benton mentioned about equity. And as you know, and some commissioners that are newer, you'll start to learn, our Aging in Place strategic plan is broken out in domains. And we've added domains in the last couple of years to the 8 that are kind of prescribed by the World Health Organization and AARP. We added a public safety and emergency preparedness domain, and we added a domain for Alzheimer's and other dementias. And we will be looking at an equity lens on all of the domains, or another domain specifically on equity, and have it woven through. We're kind of working through that process right now, but it's really important. And so I just want to share a couple of things, and then we're going to kind of move on. So some of the links that Dr. Benton mentioned to the master plan are included in the staff report. And you'll see through the staff report kind of all the places. And I want to thank Elizabeth Anderson and Diane Kahn-Epstein, who worked really hard to put this together. That makes all the kind of points of connect of the master plan, the California Master Plan on Aging, and our local Aging in Place, Aging and Community Strategic Plan. And there is a lot of alignment, and we'll be looking at that as we continue to move forward with this work. So the links are there. You'll see all the places where there's the connectivity. And we talk about kind of Alzheimer's and other dementias. The city of West Hollywood was the first city to sign on to the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, to commit to being an Alzheimer's and dementia-friendly city. So we're engaged in that work, as well as part of the AARP network of age-friendly communities. And we signed on to that as soon as we kind of completed the Aging in Place strategic plan. So just to give new commissioners a little kind of lay of the land on that. So we will be coming back to you. This is really a look at the master plan on aging. We will be coming back to you later this year with a report on what the city's done during COVID, specifically for older adults. Our kind of annual report will look a little different than the evaluation that Commissioners Palmieri and Davis and Commissioner Meltzer are more familiar with. It's going to look a little different this year, but we'll be coming back to you, and we'll be able to dig into more detail on some of the specific issues like crosswalks and other issues. So that is that.
I just want to say brava to the team. Brava. You folks are great.
It's a great team. I think it's a great, I'm biased, but I think they're pretty great too.
They were pretty great.
And so all of that, and now I'm in my role as professional introducer this evening, I get the honor now of introducing West Hollywood resident, Joe Sislowski, who was appointed by Governor Brown to the California Commission on Aging. And so he also has great connectivity to the Master Plan on Aging, and has been doing a lot of work in this area. In his other part of his professional life, he is the executive director of the Center for Healthcare Rights. And he also has experience managing nonprofit groups that work with older adults and people with disabilities. Joe has tremendous legislative and political experience, and also we'll share a couple of credentials. He received his Master of Public Policy from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, and he graduated from UCLA. So we were very balanced and equitable in our presentation this evening. I think importantly for this commission, Joe may sound, Joe's last name is going to sound familiar to some of you. He is also the husband of former Human Services Commissioner Ruth Sislowski. I also know that he's a proud father of two and a Dodger fan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and Jenny's going to help with the slide presentation.
Thank you. It's a real honor and a real pleasure to be here. Do you hear me okay?
Yes,
good. Okay. I guess you're all muted. Yes, I feel like I'm invading my wife's domain. I'm very proud of her longtime service as a longtime member of this commission, and also service as chair. I have to say there's not the full balance of the force, because she's on the faculty of USC, even though I'm a very proud Bruin. And also our son is now a sophomore at USC and at the Viterbi School of Engineering. So I am a little bit outnumbered. There is hope for my 15-year-old daughter that she will choose the right side of the force. But it's great to be here. I know, from all of that, what a great contribution the commissioners make and the staff make to our community. So I really do appreciate it, and glad to be able to make some remarks tonight. It's funny when we talk about aging, I think about sometimes having a sense of nostalgia as we get older. And I don't know how many of you remember the the smell of a mimeograph machine from when they were younger. Also, when we would watch these things called film strips, there would be an audio track separately, and there'd be a little beep that would come on every once in a while, which meant it was time to advance the film strips. So Jenny, thank you. I think you're going to be my my advancer, and I'm very appreciative for that. As was talked about before, Barbara mentioned this, the city of West Hollywood is just so dedicated to serving older adults and so innovative on how you do this that I feel tonight a little bit like bringing coals to Newcastle. But, and of course, following Dr. Benton, who did such an amazing job of describing the master plan for aging. I've been a fan of hers for, gosh, decades now. And what I'll be doing to follow up her great presentation is zeroing in on some of the priorities among the priorities. So if we could go to the slide that's up now, you'll see this is a photograph. And some of you may have come to this event. It was in November of 2019. Just down the street from West Hollywood at the LGBT Center. You can tell it was before the pandemic hit. We're all close together, and I'm off to the right wearing a necktie, which I don't think I've done since. It was a really good forum. We did focus on the issues that Steve Davis just brought up a few minutes ago, retirement planning issues, and there is a white paper available on the website of the California Commission on Aging, and I'll have some links at the end of this PowerPoint presentation, but we talked a bit about financial scams, including those that are more relevant than ever now, based on the new concepts of technology that do create those options for those scams. We also talked about some of the issues around retirement resources and saving money for retirement, as well as the housing challenges that I know you all deal with. So I do encourage you to go to the California Commission on Aging website and click on the publications tab, and you'll see that right up there. Now, this is where Jenny's hand is going to get a little tangled up, because the staff of the California Commission on Aging did prepare this PowerPoint presentation, and the first few pages really are about the commission itself, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. If any of you have questions about that, I'm glad to talk to you offline. You have, of course, County Commissioner Meltzer here, who can talk about the counterpart commission at the county level, and of course your own service at the city commission. But the bottom line is the California Commission on Aging, if we go to the next slide, was eventually constituted to serve as an advisory body to the California Department of Aging, other departments and agencies, the governor and the legislature, on the problems, needs, and concerns of older Californians. And so that's what we're here for. Going on to the next slide. We were appointed by the legislative leadership and the governor. We're allowed to have up to 25 commissioners. Currently, we have 19. As was mentioned, I was appointed by Governor Jerry Brown, and recently about a half dozen appointments were made by Governor Newsom. And this group that I have the pleasure of serving with, they're just wonderful experts. They're bright and talented and diverse, and they're all there to help support our implementation of the master plan for aging. Moving on to the next slide. Again, these are some of the roles that we have. You'll see this term in the third bullet, something called the State Plan on Aging. And you go, well, yeah, we just talked about the Master Plan on Aging, but actually that's a different document. And so, again, this gets a little bureaucratic, but it's something that we will be looking at and hopefully bringing into alignment with the master plan. And it does prescribe some of the work that must be done by the California Department of Aging. Now, ever since I've been on the commission a little bit over a year or so ago, we had some meetings in Sacramento because that's where the policymakers are focused. But the real opportunity was to go around the state. and see problems firsthand and learn about best practices to solve them. You know, the senior center in Ventura County, or the community center serving Japanese Americans with special meals in San Jose. And again, the LGBT center visit we did here in Los Angeles County. We were on our way to a rural setting when airplane travel sort of stopped and we didn't do those things anymore. But I do hope after the pandemic, you know, when that light at the end of the tunnel gets a little brighter, we will be able to get back out into the world and both learn from what's out there, but also help share some of these messages. Going on to the next slide, you'll see an organization chart, which I always laugh at these, you know, the spider webs that are created. The bottom line is the California Commission is an independent state agency, and we do deal with, as I mentioned, the California Department of Aging, but also the local area agencies on aging. Here we actually have two around us. We have one that is for the city of Los Angeles and another for the county of Los Angeles, not including that city. And there are some measures to try to get them to work even more closely together with a purposeful aging LA proposal, which we hope over time will bring to the local level what the master plan we hope will bring to the state level. And so I'll quickly go into the next slides about what our mission, what our focuses should be. Advocacy is a big role. We do relationship building. We were lucky, our immediate past chair is former Assembly member Betsy Butler, who's a good friend of West Hollywood, and she used all of her connections to help us reach out to various policymakers and others. And what we're doing here today, meeting with the staff of the Human Services Commission was one of my first priorities as a commissioner. We look at a lot of legislation. I mostly focus on the state legislation, but others spend more time on the federal legislation. The next slide, you'll see we advise, and again, our role is to advise the governor, the state legislature, the agencies, and also, and I'll get to this again in just a moment, these various groups like the Stakeholder Committee and the State Alzheimer's Plan, family caregiving, and of course the Master Plan for Aging. And so we really do try to get out into the world and again, both be eyes and ears and once in a while, hopefully more of that than being a mouth. On to the next slide. Outreach and education is a very important concept. I really do encourage you. I mentioned that report on preparing for retirement and issues around income and poverty for older adults, but we do publish something called the Age Watch newsletter. Very easy to subscribe to. I know you already get 5,000 newsletters, but I really recommend, given where you sit, subscribing to this one as well. It's very concise, it comes out as needed, and it does provide some great information on older adult issues at the state level. We do a number of special events, again, a little slower during the pandemic, but we do try to get information out, whether it's like a legislative breakfast or other kinds of hearings to get information out into the state. So let me move to the slide that it does have Master Plan for Aging at the top of it. There we are. And this is really what I wanted to spend just a few minutes focusing on. Dr. Benton did a phenomenal job about describing the themes of the Master Plan for Aging. And I think when you look throughout the report, it ends up there are 132 initiatives in there. And so what the commission has done, we took commissioner feedback and votes, and we looked at our statutory mandates and recommendations submitted by the commission and our historical priorities. We came up with these 5 priorities as our top 5 list. And so, and I just have to give a confession here. Well, I could argue that for each of these issues, there is one of the state's foremost experts on each of them. I don't want to claim to be that person for these 5, but if you do have any questions or issues around these subjects, I'll be more than glad to bring them back and make sure that the right person does hear from you and could give you some feedback. But let me go through these 5 in the next slide. So if we go to the first one, this is our top priority, and Dr. Benton did mention this, but we hope that the state will be able to increase access to long-term services and supports. We use a lot of alphabet soup, LTSS, to enable older adults, individuals with disabilities to live in their homes and communities with dignity and choices. We talked about my growing children, but I also am very close to my 92-year-old father who just lives a few minutes away, and he's just beginning to wrestle with some of these issues that older adults do have to deal with in the LTSS world. A variety of services and supports could include things like, bathing and dressing and eating and toileting and mobility, meal preparation, housekeeping, laundry, shopping, money management, transportation. My own father's sort of just getting tired of some of this stuff, and he really would like a little bit extra help. But we know that, God willing, in the years ahead, he may need more than that and more help. And that's what we hope the system will be able to help with. And of course, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen that institutional settings have been even more vulnerable to the pandemic. And so a system that enhances people, aging in their home, aging in their community, has become even more important than ever. So that's our top priority. The next page is very closely related. We want to create a long-term services and supports benefit. I've been following a couple of years back Washington State. All my friends say, we got to see what they're doing in Washington. They passed the Long-Term Care Trust Act. That's a model for the kind of program that we could be considering. And quite frankly, when the Master Plan for Aging was first proposed, I thought it would quickly lead to this. But of course, the pandemic took a big bite out of all we do. Luckily, the state of California is not as negatively impacted with their budget. But I think this may take a little longer to get there. But, there's been some legislation that was proposed, SB 512 in 2019, recently SB 515 and AB 911 with our local assembly member Nazarian. So, we're going to keep watching the work of the Long-Term Care Insurance Task Force that was established out of the California Department of Insurance. And they are supposed to develop and implement a culturally competent statewide insurance program for LTSS. So again, this will be a big deal and an expensive prospect, but it's something we are looking for. And I think it's our hope that this is what's next. Going on to the next slide. This is something I actually just went to a session on today. The Aging and Disability Resource Connection, ADRC, we call it the no wrong door model. So no matter what, if you don't know where to turn, the idea is you can get into program from an area agency on aging, an independent living center, and have a coordinated system so that you don't have to worry about, well, how do I get that thing? How do I get this dementia care? How do I get this disability service? It is at this point still new. I looked at the map today of where the ADRCs are, and all the different counties have little dots and colors. LA County is completely blank. We do not have one. There's what is called an emerging ADRC that I just learned is getting established in South Central Los Angeles. So this is something else to keep an eye on. Some people debate whether this is a good idea in concept but hasn't really been implemented yet. Others are making some moves so that all these services will be coordinated with one another and really allow these services to wrap around older adults and others. On the next slide, and Dr. Benton if she's still here, knows well about this because she actually serves on the California Elder Justice, it should say coalition, not council. She serves on that coalition along with a staff member of the California Commission on Aging. And their goal is to enhance the capacity of adult protective services to better serve victims of elder and dependent adult abuse through increased access to training, resources, and collaboration. And so this council has been working very hard to improve, coordinate, modernize our state's response to elder abuse, including bringing in the concepts of equity and inclusion that was talked about earlier. So that's a very important aspect of it. I know personally with my 9-to-5 job, we're working very hard on preventing Medicare fraud as a portion of this. But again, just as we hope services will wrap around, unfortunately, these issues of fraud and abuse and neglect and exploitation, they unfortunately also wrap around various sectors. Finally, our commission has long been focused on fighting ageism. Reframing aging is something that we've spent, before I came on the commission, a lot of time focused on. The idea being, here we are in Hollywood, and I know, I remember being a children's advocate years ago and working on various issues. The one that probably comes most to mind, how many of you have watched a television series and people get in the car and you have not seen them put on their seatbelts? Hollywood was a big mover in seatbelt safety. And so, it's the sort of thing where we hope to continue to work with the entertainment industry, as well as other employers, to really fight not just discrimination on all the aspects that we often talk about, like age and race and ethnicity and language and citizenship status and sex and gender identity, sexual orientation, family status, disability, dementia, cognitive status, and income, all the things that you mentioned, that are mentioned here, I should say, but also ageism. And it is something that I'd encourage you to continue to focus on as well. So let me just wrap up. There's one slide here that talks about the various committees. And again, our commissioners are on these various commissions and groups and committees, including the Master Plan for Aging advisory groups that you see here, the Disability and Aging Community Living Advisory Committee. We've been very focused on Alzheimer's disease and related disorders, behavioral health committees, and the Elder Justice Coordinating Committees that I mentioned earlier. So again, we help to create that spider web through service from the various commissioners on the other important groups that are there. So let me just wrap up with one final slide that you'll see here, and hopefully will get shared with you another time, so you don't have to scribble this on down. And the one that Dr. Benton mentioned is here as well. But the first is the link to the commission. And again, I'd encourage you to look for that, the paper that was published out of our meetings here in LA County. We are active with the AAAs, the area agencies on aging. The California Department of Aging itself has a new, visionary director and is doing all kinds of wonderful things. And the fourth bullet is the one that Dr. Benton alluded to earlier, engagecalifornia.org. That's where you can actually, if you feel like it, download a full copy of the report. You can look at the various themes. You can, again, I'd also encourage you to adopt one or two, pick something and bring it down here to the local level, create a West Hollywood dashboard for these things. It's really designed for it to be, fully and blessedly plagiarized. So just grab it, look for some ideas, get a highlighting marker or a red pen and just pick something out of there and make it happen. Finally, as from our priorities, you'll see a link to learn more about ADRCs, the Aging and Disability Resource Connection, CalAIM, which is some changes to our Medicaid program, the LTSS feasibility study, which was very groundbreaking, and finally a report from the long-term care insurance task force. So if you go to our California Commission on Aging website, the priorities that I just mentioned, you're kind of getting a little advanced look at them tonight, but they will, I understand, be posted later this week. Remember to subscribe to that Age Watch newsletter, and definitely look at the master plan for aging there. Anyway, that's it on one foot. I know that's a lot of information. I'm a native Angelino, spent many years pre-city of West Hollywood in unincorporated county, but I sometimes am able to talk like a New Yorker, so I apologize for spitting all that out so quickly.
Thank you very much. That was a very nice report. And I don't believe I've ever met you. I've known your other half for a long time.
Oh, I think the times I've seen you is when you gave her a ride home after the commission meetings, and
yeah, I think that might
we would wave. So I've had that pleasure, but it's nice to meet you here. And of course, Ruth sends her regards.
Good. And lovely children. Couldn't ask for better. Does any commissioner wish to start? Commissioner Byers, would you like to start?
No, I don't have many questions. I just want to say that it's really great to meet you. I'm really glad to know that you're a local and serving on this California commission. What an incredible opportunity we have to really localize a lot of the statewide mandates. And grateful that you were here to share some of those resources. I am a newsletter junkie and really can't get enough of links and extra resources. So I appreciate you providing a whole slide of that and look forward to staff sharing that out with us.
Pleasure. My only regret is we can't be together in person, but I hope we will in better days, and we'll all, whatever restaurants are left, we'll get a cup of coffee there.
That's right.
Break some bread together and do some mutual scheming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Meltzer?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Sislowski. That was really wonderful. And the two AAAs are planning to merge in LA County, as I'm sure you know. I'd like to mention something about ageism. It is the last ageism, I think, in our country, and we need to really fight it. And I just went to Barnes and Noble today and to buy a birthday card, and I took a picture of this one, and it says, "I see dead people. Oh wait, you're just old." And this got me crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I'm going to fight it. I'm going to do something about it. And so
I believe you. If anyone who knows Barbara knows that's not an idle threat.
Ageism. I just need us to fight ageism, because it's just awful. And the place is filled with cards like that, so anyway, thank you for the,
and I should say, Barbara is, oh gosh, in many ways, my own conscience. She's the one, we're able to get together for coffee at Le Pan down Melrose. She's the one who makes me aware of these trends before I know of them, and I follow her wisdom a great deal. And yes, there are a lot of really smart people, and I'm going to use the word, and I mean it in a positive way, that are beginning to use propaganda to fight ageism. And so I'm not quite sure they are all connected with one another as much as they should be. In other words, the thing that frustrates me on the front of ageism, as well as other aspects of aging, whether it's Dr. Benton's good work on caregiving or all of these things we've talked about, is what I'd love to see. And she actually mentioned the Gray Panthers and the whole concept of
Maggie Kuhn,
yeah. It's a movement. They have a march in Sacramento each year, and about 50 people show up, and there are times when it's easy, when it's time to cut something out of the budget, the first thing is services to older adults. I'm not saying that's true in West Hollywood, but in Sacramento and in Washington, that's easy. And what I would like to see and work toward, but having a hard time figuring out how to turn the corner on this is the creation of a movement for older adults. And that's what I hope that you'll all help to, ignite and sustain.
A
So thank you.
multi-generational movement.
Say that again?
A multi-generational movement.
Well, fair enough. Exactly. As
That's what Maggie Kuhn did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I hope we can get, back to where that started. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe.
Commissioner Darvish.
Oh, there you go. I wasn't sure if you were calling my name, but thank you so much. Great presentation. I don't want to make too many comments. We could be here all night. This is a topic that's really close to my heart. I'm really passionate about listening to you. I'm impressed the work that you've done. I remain frustrated with how, as a country, we treat and look at older adults. I think it's a cultural thing that we all need to look at and change. I know I'm so glad to hear Commissioner Byers that's interested to learn, and we need all of us to really advocate for older adults as we all are aging and getting there. But again, I think our system, you've mentioned advocacy. I've been there in DC many times for healthcare advocacy for older adults 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And you go there, you make your point. At the end of the day, it all comes to funding and the interest of how much money we want to save. It's, to me, is frustrating. And I know that we can't give up. We need to push towards that and help the our older adults to access care. We call it value-based today. And to me, that value-based should be judged by the patient, not by someone that's controlling the funds. So there's a lot wrong in our model that we all need to team up and help. Maybe that will start in West Hollywood. I alone have done it in Sacramento through DC, and we did some. We made some changes, small changes, but I think a huge change. I think the biggest one is just that perception of how we look at older adults. Many cultures, many countries, they respect the older adults. They look at them as wisdom. A lot of companies hire them. Where in the U.S. we look at people over 50. They're too old. They may not be as productive, but all of that needs to change. And again, glad that we're having this discussion, and we'll have more hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're here.
Jimmy.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't have a lot of questions, but I am realizing where I met you, and it was at the absolute last event that I went to before COVID, and it was with Barbara. We went to see Architecture of Los Angeles or of West Hollywood, and I saw
remember
you.
it well.
Yeah, I was trying to remember your face, and that's where. But
it was at the building that have as my background. Actually, that very space, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting to me.
My pleasure. No, I know the world has changed since that day, and hopefully, again, we'll be back to those days again soon.
I think as people, we tend to not notice the fact that, but everything changes every day. Some of the changes are larger than others, but nothing stays static, and so we have to kind of incorporate the change into our lives and keep moving. So that's kind of my idea about what is it called? Changes, because it's always happening. Corey, do we have anything else? Do you have any more to add to us, or?
No, just want to thank Joe. When we reached out to Joe back when we could all meet in person and sit down and have breakfast together, we were able to do that and pick his brain and kind of get a little bit more connected to what was happening at the state level. But through COVID, I just want to kind of, recognize what Joe's done as well as, kind of checking in with staff to see, are we able to get people connected, kind of just checking to make sure things were happening as they should be happening. And I hope for most of those things, we were able to give them a good answer on what was happening and how service delivery and interventions were happening. But really just, kind of, from the, I think from the macro to the micro, we really appreciate the focus that Joe has brought to this. And we are, again, so thrilled to have him as a West Hollywood resident on the commission and as a point of connect for us. So,
well, Corey's being very kind. She may have picked my brain with a toothpick, and I picked her brain and Elizabeth's brain with a giant shovel, and had a chance to talk with Diane in the times since. And I just have the utmost respect for all of you and what you're doing. And I know the Human Services Commissioners appreciate what a great staff that they get to work with. So I hope this is just the beginning of those conversations, and pulling together many others, with Barbara on the county commission. I'm glad to do what I can at the state level. We really just have to roll up our sleeves. We have a lot of hard work ahead to make these concepts again into reality. So I know you'll all be there, and whatever humble thing I can do to help, please count me in.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Dr. Benton. Barbara, was it your hand? Oh, okay. She was just giving us a thumbs up. Thank you to Dr. Benton, and thank you to Commissioner Suslowski. Thank you, Corey, and your team. I didn't get to see your team. I did get to see you for a moment, but the team's down there. It's just that they're there now. See, that's Elizabeth, are you actually there? Ah, very nice, very nice. Okay, so we shall move on our agenda. We are going to move to item B, which is the election of a vice chair. At this time, I will turn myself over to Diane. Oh, I'm sorry, to Leslie. Well, I saw Diane, you moved. You were right there, and then you went over here. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Leslie, who will take care of us from now on.
Okay, thank you for that.
Sorry.
Good evening, commissioners. It's nice to see everybody. What we are going to do now is we are going to elect a vice chair. I will open up nominations. I'll explain how this works so that those of you who are new, understand how it's done at the city. I'll open up nominations, and anyone can nominate anyone, including themselves. I will ask 3 times if there are any other nominations. That is a typical protocol for this procedure. And then once the 3rd and final time has been asked, if there are no further nominations, then we will do a vote, and that vote will be a roll call vote that Jenny will call, and people can cast their votes audibly at that time. So this is, to be clear, this is an election of vice chair that will go for a term that will end in November of this year. We had a vacancy for this position, and here we are opening it up once again. So, Barbara, did you have a question, or do you want to make a nomination?
I want to make a nomination. Can I do that now?
We'll open the floor, yes, for nominations, and by all means, go right ahead.
I nominate Commissioner Palmieri.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Commissioner Palmieri also.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a vote in just a moment, but that bodes well for our first nominee. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, we are going to close nominations, and Jenny, if we could please have a roll call vote.
Hello, everyone. Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Darvish?
Yes.
Commissioner Meltzer?
Yes.
Commissioner Palmieri?
Yes.
And Chair Davis.
Oh, yes.
Yay.
Much needed. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, congratulations, Vice Chair Palmieri.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
And thanks to the new folks also. I appreciate it. Thanks for nominating me, Barbara.
Great. Congrats.
Oh, excellent. So we can move along, I guess. I can go along. Thank you all very much for that. And we're going to move, we had no excluded consent, so we're going to move to items from staff. And that will be, looks like Leslie's it.
That's it. It's me again. Just a couple of things in David's absence. I want to give all of you a little bit of an update on emergency services that have been provided since the safer at home orders and the county health directives. For grocery delivery programs, our transit services, that's MV Transit, American GTS, and Ambiance, in coordination with Project Angel Food and Jewish Family Services, has delivered 65,000 meals and packaged groceries since April of 2020. Rental assistance since its inception in March of last year has funded over 2,000 grants to more than 500 households. And the breakdown of those numbers is the Alliance for Housing and Healing, which has provided 252 grants at a cost of a little over $300,000, and National Council of Jewish Women has provided 1,461 grants at over $1.5 million. Through our contract with Beit Tzedek Legal Services, the city's provided mediation services and initiated an eviction defense program for renters. There have been 90 cases that have been taken up since this program's inception. You will recall back in the fall, and it was early fall, late summer, when we couldn't have cooling centers as part of a heat mitigation program because cooling centers, by nature, people gather, but we did then and will continue to do as needed the delivery of fans and water to community members who are in need of those items during periodic heat waves. And so far, more than 100 fans and cases of water have been delivered under those circumstances. We've also provided emergency fare credits for our on-call transportation program at a value of $100 per person in program credits to participants of the on-call program so that folks can get to essential services. And we've also extended the Metro fare credits for seniors. So that is the update on emergency services. And then I also just wanted to let you know, those of you who were on the commission last March or February, may have been February, you may recall having received a presentation from the LA LGBT Center on domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And I wanted to just share with you that the folks from the LA LGBT Center are going to bring that same presentation to the Public Safety Commission at their May 10th meeting. This was a request of the commission, and the center staff was able to clear their schedules and present on May 10th. So just a little update there. And that is it for me.
I have a thought.
Thank
Oh,
you,
you didn't
Leslie.
call on me. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a thought. The list that Sam gave and the list that you just gave, I would love to see if we can find a way to take all of those figures and things that are happening and things we're doing and things that have been done and find an interesting way to make sure the community sees that. I really do. I think it's absolutely extraordinary. And 12 people know about it. Do you know what I mean? We have to find a way to do that. So it's great.
Do you want to just continue in comments or anything you would like continue with yourself?
Continue. Are you talking to me? Continue with myself? Is that what you're saying?
continue with your commissioner comments. Since you're already talking, we're just going to let you continue.
Okay, I actually have some here. I attended the last senior advisory board, and there was a presentation from Recreation Services Division. And I think we all need to know about that. I think everybody should know about all the work they're doing for people of all ages in West Hollywood. And maybe perhaps they can present to us. I just thought it was so important and so wonderful. Also, the Rec Reader is online, and Community Connection is online. It's a quarterly guide to thrive at any age for everyone, especially people 55 and over. So I think that maybe we can fit that into our schedule at some point, if at all possible. And also, I have, and I guess I can just give it to David. My county commission did a panel with APLA Health and Jeff Bailey. It was a panel about HIV and aging. And it was wonderful. And I asked Jeff to please put a fact sheet together, an information sheet about that issue. And so he did, and I'm going to make sure that we all get that, because it's really interesting. And I think there are a lot of things we're simply not thinking about. And should I do my my tribute?
Yes, please.
Is this the time? Okay, I will. It's it's really to adjourn in the memory of Rocky LaFleur. And I served on the West Hollywood Library, the Friends of the West Hollywood Library board with Rocky. And what I did, I stole some comments that other people have made because I couldn't say it quite as beautifully, and I will quickly read it. Rocky LaFleur was a longtime West Hollywood resident and an influential figure in the design and architecture scene. He also served as mentor to many budding designers. Rocky was the kindest, sweetest gentleman who had an infectious smile and who just loved life. I'm sure this wonderful human being is now in heaven, creating the stage drapery and the musical score for the Angels' new show. If only there were more Rockies in this world to spread love and kindness as he did. Farewell, and sing with the angels, my remarkable friend. You will be missed but not forgotten.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Paul Mary. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You. I'm sorry.
I have a question for staff, and maybe Leslie, you can help me with this or actually find something out about this. I'd like to know when you'll be delivering our agendas again. Things are getting back to a little bit of normal, and going to the store to get them seems as much of a risk as having them delivered. So a lot of food is being delivered, and I'm printing out sometimes 20, 30 pages. So I'm just wondering when our agenda packets will be back to delivery service again. And I know you don't know the answer tonight, so.
You're right. I don't, but we definitely know that once we are back to business as usual, that will be something that we will prioritize.
I want to thank all of the 5 council members for voting me in unanimously. I've never had an at-large seat, honestly, and I've always been under a council member, and I got to know them. I know them all, but I've gotten to know the ones that I didn't. I didn't know Seppi very well, and I actually adore her. So I'm very grateful to all 5 of them. For the new people that came, when Sam said that we got free feminine products available, he didn't tell what we actually did. Sam and I held up boxes of tampons and Kotex on television with a sign that said no pink tax during the funding process. And a lot of people actually came up to us and asked us about it. So now they're available at all of the city restrooms. And I'm actually pretty proud of that, to be honest. To the new commissioners, I really look forward to working with you and see what you're bringing to the table. I can tell from just from your comments and questions, it's going to be an exciting ride for all of us. I had a preliminary meeting with Chamber of Commerce today about Pride. I don't know what Pride is going to look like this year, if it's going to look like anything. You know, it may be virtual, there may be some hubs. It's all up in the air. Of course, it's all up to council, and I think that goes to council in, is it 2 weeks? Is it 1 week, their next meeting? And they'll be figuring out some type of budget and if they want to do anything at all. So, you know, stay tuned. And we all miss Pride, but we also all want to be safe, and rather safe than sorry. And I think that's it for me tonight. I'm so happy to be back, actually. Thanks.
Commissioner Darvish, do you have any comments for the evening?
Thank you. I'm just feeling overwhelmed. Such a great agenda, and especially tonight and last month, just being new to this, trying to learn some history and, you know, get online and see what great work you all have done, and past commissioners. I want to thank Commissioner Meltzer for reaching out to me and guiding me a little bit about some surveys that were done in the past, community surveys. I think that was done. I read up some of that. So again, just trying to get my feet wet and in order to be able to contribute. But I'm really impressed with the agenda and presentations tonight and last month, and the work that all of you have done, and again the support that all of you have provided. And Chair Davis, I need to reach out to you. I have some ideas for myself that I need to share with you and get your guidance. So thank you so much.
Certainly. Commissioner Byers.
Thank you. Yeah, what a great meeting tonight. I also want to thank Commissioner Meltzer for reaching out to me and meeting with me and showing me the ropes. I want to thank Sam Borelli for his time on this commission. Sam's leadership in this community has just been such an inspiration to me, and I was really moved by his comments tonight, and appreciate Commissioner Meltzer's suggestion to make them public in some way. Also want to welcome back Commissioner Palmieri. I learned something from you every single time you spoke tonight, and I'm really excited to be working with you on this commission. I also just want to take a moment and acknowledge the tragedy and the collective outrage that's unfolding across the country at the wrongful killing of Dante Wright in Minneapolis. I really just want to extend my deepest sympathies to his family, his mother, father, siblings, his girlfriend, and the young son he leaves behind. Dante was killed by a police officer in a traffic stop Sunday night in Brooklyn Center near Minneapolis, a community that's grieved many senseless police murders in the last 5 years. We talked about aging in place tonight and how thinking about that really starts at such a young age, and it's meant to follow us throughout our lives. And I'm just completely grief-stricken thinking about the way that we as society deny that opportunity to so many, and in such a targeted way. And we just continuously fail to acknowledge the underlying reasons why that continues to be true. And as a young woman who's never been fearful in a traffic stop, I just really want to name that dismantling white supremacy really has to continue to be at the core of our work across society, and even as a commission. And the way that we work to extend these proactive, nonviolent, supportive services into our community, the way that we do that equitably is really making the difference. I'm really proud to be a part of this community, and just want to continue to do this work because I realize that how essential it is to building a world where these type of senseless killings don't happen. So thank you all. Thanks for the time.
I completely agree with you, Commissioner Byers. It's been, if I'm watching the TV and it comes on, it makes me ill to think about it. I don't even know where to start. Knowing that I've never ever thought, like you said, I've never thought about a traffic stop. I've never thought about this. I kind of have probably sailed through a lot of things without even thinking about it, simply because I am white. And it isn't that that's a bad thing, is that it should be extended to all groups, and it should be because we're all human as opposed to what color or what group we come from. So I would like to conclude our meeting this evening. I would like to thank again, after Commissioner Byers said so, but I would really like to thank my friend, Commissioner Borelli, for his service. He was an excellent chair. He was an excellent commissioner. What is it called? We can all aspire to be somewhat better. And I would also like to thank and acknowledge Commissioner Reback, who was also a good chair and also a good commissioner. And so we've lost two really good ones. We got two really good new ones, and we get a third next in May. And then we will start to work together. So I would like to adjourn the meeting in honor of Rocky LaFleur, and we will see everyone in May. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Excellent
everybody.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Just a quick note, if you guys need me. Oh, everyone's off. Well, Jimmy, you know how to do your virtual
Thank you.
background, but I'm
I-
happy.
I have a green screen. I'm going to put it up next time.
Okay, there's also some settings. City clerk's folks emailed me some instructions. I'll forward to them if you want to take a look at them.
Sure.
I know Corey had some issues. I'm asking her what she did to fix it because she also
Okay.
had that pop up.
All
But
right.
I'll forward you a couple of items. Anyway,
If I can't
congratulations.
thank you. If I can't get the city's logo up, I'm just going to put the background of Cher's concert. Okay.
Works for me. Not sure about anybody else, but yeah, I love me some share.
All right. See you soon, honey.
Okay, and if worse comes to worse, if we ever have an agenda that's really large, let me just make, oh, actually, we're still streaming. I'll talk to you later. I think we're still streaming on YouTube.
Okay,
So,
that's fine.
right.
Yeah, it just if I have a really large agenda, I'll just ask for it to be printed.
okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you. Bye.
You're welcome. Congratulations.